Welcome to another episode of Built with Jason White, and we are starting a new segment here. So this is going to be different. This is actually going to be our segment called Foundation in 15. So let me explain what that looks like. If you weren't able to see last week's episode, go back and check that out, by the way. So we wanted to build off that. This is going to be a reoccurring segment that we do where I try to keep the podcast under 15 minutes, and we set some foundational, just hit some points that we've learned over the years. And so the hope is that every time we do one of these segments that you can pull away something, one thing that can help you in your walk, in your growth, in what you're building. And the reason I say go back and listen to last week's episode, because that's what we're going to build off of. I thought, what better way to start the foundation in 15 than to talk about the foundation, right? So, and what I mean by the foundation is what you're building on. So the big idea here is everyone is building something. Everyone's building something. Whether it's your marriage, whether it's your career. For me, it was, building real estate. Maybe it's your children. Whatever journey that you're walking on right now, that's what you're building. So we want to go kind of cover my hope is to hit 3 bullet points. Again, keep it under 15 minutes. Talk about a little bit about that foundational aspect. I'm keeping an eye on the time for us, so that way I make sure that I stay under 15. But if you don't know me, but if you do know me, I guess is more accurate. You know that I'm not too shy about hiding my faith. You also probably know that I am in real estate, and you can walk into a absolutely gorgeous home, beautiful home, but if there are foundational issues, that home will not stand. That has to be addressed in order for that home to continue to stay beautiful and to stand firm, correct? So that's kind of the premise behind this. We want to touch on a few things. So number one, everyone is building something. And so I want to take you back to when I first got married. And what I started with was a very, what I would call a very loose foundation. So when I originally got married, I didn't know a whole lot about building anything in my life. And I'm going to guess that most of us guys out there don't know a whole lot about building anything. Especially for me, I was 21 or 22 at the time when we got married. So, but I learned over the years that everything that we go through and everything that we do is a constant path of building something. So like I said, some of you are out there and you're on your faith journey, and you're trying to build that. Some of you just got married, or maybe you're getting ready to step into that marriage, and that's what you're going to start building now. Others, maybe it's you're ready to start a new family, or you're adding to the family in that. So career, business, and ultimately the end goal is likely to build a legacy, and each individual has an idea of what that legacy looks like. But that's the end game is probably to build a legacy. Maybe it's not you. For me, my legacy is my children. That's my legacy. That's what I get to leave behind, and I hope that I leave behind something that was worthy and that is changing the world for the good. So that's really what we're pushing for, right? So again, point number one is the issue isn't whether you're building. The issue is what you're building on. And if you don't know the answer to that question, just ask yourself, what do you find yourself putting the most time and energy and attention and focus on? Because if you look at that, that's going to really pinpoint what you're building on. So, and point number two, so we've covered one, everybody's building something, so we've covered that. Point number two are storms are going to come. No matter what, storms are going to come. So, and when you start building something, the storms come, especially when you start to accomplish some things in your building. The storms start to come hard and heavy sometimes. So I'll give you a couple of prime examples. When we got married, life was good. We were building on some stuff, and we purchased our first house, and with that comes some home issues. Sometimes our basement flooded twice, so we had to get our basement, and we had a tri-level, so we had to get the whole living room completely remodeled because it flooded pretty good, and tore up the drywall and all that stuff down there. So that was a storm that came. Actually, it was a storm that came that also caused a storm. So there you go. But we were okay, right? We had a good foundation. If you don't know, Amber, my wife and I, Amber, we're both in the church. We were both Christians. We were okay. It wasn't fun. We didn't have a whole lot of money then, but and then some years went by. We had that house for I think 6-7 years. And then the housing market crash came of 08, 09. That was a fun time. Talk about storms, right? And we actually lost our house during that time. So another storm came, but we were okay, right? It was one of those things where every time a storm hits, you feel it a little bit differently. So we ended up having to move. That was a crazy time because we moved. We moved 5 times in a matter of 4 times in a matter of 6 months during that whole scenario. And that's a whole nother long story that I could go on, but that takes a toll. We had two daughters at the time. Our youngest was actually around 5, I want to say. So we had both our girls, and Amber was pregnant with our third. So that was probably more of a storm for her, even though as a husband and father, it was definitely, but being pregnant and having to go through that, I'm sure was not fun. So, but we made it through, right? We got another house but then a major storm came, and that was, if you've heard me talk about my story, that was when my grandfather passed away, and then 6 months later, my dad passed away, and I lived with my grandfather for 5 years, so it was almost like 2 dads, in a sense, passing away within a 6-month period. And what that did was it shook my foundation. So I found out, and it's not something that just happens overnight. I found out real quick that it's a slow fade. And so when that storm came, it started to erode at my foundation. And I realized it revealed to me that maybe my foundation wasn't as firm as it should have been. And so during those times, a lot happened, and we were not okay. I was not okay, and it caused a complete. I would say it destroyed my marriage in that moment. So, but luckily, and I'm thankful that the blessings came and miracles happened. Again, whole nother story, and I will talk about that on one of these podcasts for sure. But those storms come, and it may look like financial struggles for you. Maybe you're having a health issue, a health challenge, the marital difficulties, wayward children, whatever that storm. So the difference is not the storm. The difference in those that can withstand the storms and those that can't is the foundation. It's not what type of storm it is, even though they can pile up. It's how strong is that foundation. And so point number 2 is really the strength of your foundation is revealed during those storms, not during the good times, not during the sunshine. When things are going good, yeah, the foundation seems great, and that's exactly what we found in our marriage. So, but yeah, when the storm comes, that's when that foundation's revealed. So, and I want to wrap it up with a couple final points here. Basically a point number 3 and a challenge. So point number 3 is build on the rock, right? Again, 1, everyone's building something. 2, storms are going to come. So 3, build on the rock. And again, I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I'm not shy about my faith. So for me, in the word, Jesus says, the wise builder hears God's words and puts it in practice. And building on Christ means daily prayer, time in God's word, being connected to church, and obedience when it's hard, and being able to trust. And all those things lead to being able to trust God in those uncertain times. And so when I talk about those first struggles, losing the house, the flooding of the living room, those were uncertain times, right? But those are times that maybe I would consider those in my life maybe smaller storms, and in the foundation that I had in the moment of untrusting God, like He'll see us through this, even though extremely stressful. It wasn't like I just walked smiling thinking that nothing was going to happen. But when those big storms come, like I said, the major health things, a family member passing away, a child issue, whatever it might be, those are the moments when you need to make sure that you're relying and focus on what are those things. Let me make sure that my foundation is on the rock, because without that, the house doesn't stand. It just doesn't. You will fall. And so the faith is just more than hearing. It's hearing and understanding and then putting it into practice. And that's in the early years of my marriage, I had faith. I didn't practice the faith as much as I should have. And so now it's a shifted concept, right? You have the faith, but put it into practice. Make sure that you're doing the daily works to help you stay on track with that faith. Because like I said, in the sunshine, it's easy. Things are great. And it's easy to say that you have the faith and practice that faith. But in the storms, that's when you're able to step up and really test that foundation that you have. So just ask yourself, if someone watched my life this week, would they know what my foundation is? And I can say that I've had weeks where I would say, yes, people would know what my foundation is and what I stand on. And I've had weeks where I would say, I'm not so sure that they would know. So my challenge to you, as I wrap up this session, my challenge to you over this next week is just to spend 5 minutes and ask God. And if you're not on that journey yet, that's fine. Maybe spend the 5 minutes and ask yourself, what am I building it on? If you don't have a solid faith foundation that you're building your life on, what are you holding on to as your foundation? Where are you pulling that from? So I would test you on that. And if you are on that journey and you just started it, spend 5 minutes and talk to God and try to identify where you need to strengthen that foundation and take that one step towards strengthening that foundation. And I'll leave you with this. Foundations are not permanent. And and what I mean is, if you're building on the rock, then it can get shaken. But on the alternative, let's say that you've went most of your life and you haven't built that foundation and you don't know what you're building on. You can start at any time and you can shift at any time. When I lost my grandfather and my dad, my foundation shifted in a bad way during that time, and it took a lot of rebuilding of me to get back to where the foundation was a solid rock again. And that I now firmly believe that no matter what the storm, even though I kind of shudder at saying that, no matter what the storm is, I trust that God has me, and I trust that He will keep my faith strong during those times. So, but yeah, identify where you need to strengthen that foundation, and again, storms don't determine the strength of your foundation. They just kind of reveal it. So no matter where you've been building, today's a great day to start and to start building on the rock. So again, this was Foundation in 15. I just wanted a couple key points there. I hope that this was helpful. We're going to continue this series. It's going to be a long series of just different points. We're going to talk about marriages. We're going to talk about having daughters. We're going to talk about fatherhood. We're going to talk about all those things in life. And I hope that you'll come along in the journey with me and we can strengthen each other during this. And that's really the passion behind this Foundation in 15. So again, we're going to be on all those major platforms. This one, by the time it gets released, I actually will be celebrating my 22nd anniversary with Amber, my wife. So I'm thankful for that, and I hope to tap into a little bit of that to help some others along the way. So thank you, and again, you were built for this.